A very warm good evening to all of you, and welcome to the 69th session of CENTA's webinar series for teachers. Today's topic, as you all know, it's going to focus on how educators can create a culture of curiosity-driven blended learning in a computer studies classroom. Computer studies is the most profusely used and yet confusing and daunting subject for many students due to lack of what let's call it proper aptitude for the subject. The ever-changing dynamic nature of the subject makes it even more challenging for the otherwise digital literates, let alone the less tech-savvy people to follow up on what their children are studying in the classroom. In this webinar, we would be focusing on some of the practices that can make the subject of computer studies simple, interesting, and scoring, and also make computer studies a period that students look forward to, not just for a lab practical, but also to learn something new and exciting every day. We'll also be, as we go along, addressing remediation measures for slow learners and also differential learning ways to keep students of all learning levels actively engaged in the classroom. Today's facilitator is a really, really special person, Ms. Shamim Singh. Good evening, ma'am. Uh, Shamim ma'am, like all of you are attending the session today, is a proud My CENTA community member. She is both a CENTA TQ and a TPO digital badge holder. Shamim ma'am is a computer science educator at the City Montessori School in Lucknow, where she has been teaching for close to 2 decades now. She is also the winner of the Bronze, Silver, and Gold awards by the Generation Global for training her students to participate in active dialogue with students from over 10 countries across the world. She has trained students to win the National Science Film Festival Award, which is organized by the Vigyan Prasar Bharati in 2016 and 2018. Ms. Shamim has also worked on multiple collaborative projects with students, with the aim of judicious use of ICT in mind, and has also worked on devising innovative instructional methods to facilitate both synchronous and asynchronous modes of blended learning for multiple subjects. Welcome, ma'am. It's a really, really pertinent topic, and we are and we're super excited to learn something new today. And before we just we get into it, just a couple of quick announcements. Or rather, one, we will be for the benefit of those who are joining our session or joining our webinar for the first time. We will be sharing a feedback link at around 4:45, which is 45 minutes from now. And filling in the feedback form is crucial for you to get your record of participation tomorrow. So please fill the feedback form via the link that we share in the chat section. And and yes, in case you have any issues or any issues with filling the feedback form, please go to my center m.centa.org, which is the place that you used to register for the session, and fill the feedback form from there. But please do fill the feedback form in. Thank you. That's pretty much it from my side, Shamim ma'am. It's over to you.
Thank you so much, Karthik, for that very generous introduction. Good evening and Jedwit to all of you. It is my absolute honor and privilege to facilitate this webinar, an opportunity provided to me by the extremely dedicated and focused team of CENTA, which is focused at bringing the nationwide and, in fact, the worldwide teachers at par with pedagogies and technologies related to teaching applications. Blended learning is one of them. Warm greetings to the August gathering. I'm extremely thankful to all of you to spare your valuable time and be here with us to assess where we are as a teacher in these traumatic times when the whole world is fighting against the challenge posed on humanity, and what is it that we can do to make the virtual classroom come alive just like the real one, to generate curiosity amongst the students who are excited with the thought of playing those Kahoots and Socrates. So we begin. Before I start, let me just share my presentation. Yeah, I hope everybody can see the font size is okay with everyone. Right. So before we begin, a small prayer on behalf of the entire CMS family, especially our most respected founders, Dr. Jagdish Gandhi and Dr. Bharti Gandhi, for healing the people who are suffering and as a source of strength to those who've lost their near and dear ones, and to heal the ones who are going through these tough times. So maybe all join our hands. Thy name is my healing, O my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing, and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all bountiful, the all knowing, the all wise. Now we begin. Blended learning is not something that just came overnight or probably over the past 1 year, when the pandemic devastated everything that happened around us. Blended learning is a kind of teaching skill which existed, um, in the teaching systems maybe a decade or more back, almost the same time when the IT revolution had its impact on other spheres. And blended learning was basically introduced to make the students take charge of their own learning by using technology via their mobile phones or gadgets or videos or YouTube channels, whatever they had, to explore, to learn, and come back in the classroom, with an overview of the subject. And there were a lot of models to begin with. I'm not going to be discussing about these models already there all over the internet. The whole idea of blended learning was to make sure that learning is not about chalk and talk anymore. It's about students, understanding the concepts before they come to the classroom with some amount of pre-work done, some amount of research work done. And something that is very important and integral to their learning is the four C's of communication. The 21st century skills, like communication, creativity, collaboration, critical thinking. These were the skills which are imperative for a student to exist in a kind of very complex life and work environment in future. But over the time, people realized that these skills were not enough to make a student a responsible global citizen. So there were two more C's added, uh, that we better know as character education and citizenship. These two C's were incorporated into the 21st century learning skills to ensure that the students are not just good in their work environment, but they are morally and socially responsible citizens of the world, that they take onus of everything that's happening around them, whether it is participating in conservation of energy programs or reduce, recycle. We've been doing all over our curriculum, for these promoting these things in our these skills in our students. The idea of blended learning came from the fact that we had to induce these skills in our students, and some schools across the country, across the world, had already started doing that, by using blended learning. And blended learning was not just like going to the lab. It was like, let us say, about out of 100% time, maybe about 80% time of classroom physical teaching, face-to-face teaching, maybe 20% time where the child was given time on internet, maybe on a lab or something, where he could explore and come back and share his thoughts. But last 1 year changed everything. It was to a model that was gradually evolving. It just became something that was imperative, which everybody had, all of us had to take into our learning account. And blended learning, something that we understood as a combination of online and face-to-face learning, which was the offline one, now expanded from a skill to a full-fledged pedagogy with multiple modes of instruction. Sometimes you have to go totally offline, sometimes you have to go totally online, and probably the time period of offline education this year was minuscule as compared to the online sessions that we had. And we're really not certain how it's going to go from here, because the online sessions are now divided into two broad categories: the asynchronous and the synchronous. Asynchronous being when the teacher and taught are online at their pace, their own free time, and synchronous means when both of them are together at the same time, as per a fixed timetable that is given to the students. To have a better understanding and to get a little more involvement and knowing more of you, because presentation is not about just me talking. I would definitely want to know my audience. May I request Piyush to play this small little audience poll on Menti, where you just have to answer one small question. What, according to you, were the major challenges that we faced in the last session? You just need to go to menti.com and just give us two challenges that you felt were really difficult for you to manage. So we'll take about a 40 seconds to a minute's time, and I hope everybody has started sharing their inputs. You can share your thoughts in the live chat section as well. Oh, yes, I can see so many new people here. Yes, please. What are the two main challenges that you faced while teaching in a blended learning environment last year? There's a quiz link which is being shared on the live chat. If you cannot see that link properly, it's scrolling up too fast, then please have a look at my slide. I'll just share my slide once again with you. I'm going to go on the present mode once again. You have to go to menti.com and you have to enter the code 21973645, and you will see this question. What, according to you, were the major challenges that we faced in the last session? And may I please request you to give me at least 2 words. All right. All right. We started getting responses. Holding attention, disinterest, parents interface, okay. Connectivity, managing the class, student engagement, that's quite interesting. Connectivity seems to take the lead, network connectivity. Okay, network connectivity. The maximum number of responses are saying network connectivity. I think the words are getting smaller in the word cloud. So maybe, Piyush, if you could just share it on the main screen and stop the poll. Okay. Yes. So, Piyush, could we share the poll on the screen, please? The result of the poll. All right. Oh, that's too big. I get it. A lot of you are here. Thank you so much. That's so overwhelming. Maybe if you could just stop taking the responses, I could just read some of these. Differentiated learning, technology, network issue. All right, fine. So we can stop there and let's go back to our presentation. I'll be just kind of summarizing this a little bit. Probably all of us resonate on the thoughts. Uh, Planning and implementation of online lesson plans, diverse, sometimes evasive technology, attendance and engagement, unforeseen circumstances, sometimes like sudden relocation of somebody, unstable bandwidth, internet connectivity, sharing of gadgets with multiple logins, study ambience, unreliable assessments, the missing social and emotional connect, parental involvement, attention span reduced from minutes to seconds, students switching tabs and leaving classrooms unannounced, very much unlike the regular classroom, school classroom. So, these were some of the challenges which all of us faced. And I had a similar poll with children. Let me share the results with you. So we have a lot of common things here. We have, these are the students who were randomly from different campuses. You know, yeah, the students had the same things: technology issues, offline classes. Can you see decreased motivation? I think it synchronizes with our lack of interest. Decreased motivation, lack of interest, technology issues. I think these are the broad issues that we're going to be addressing today. We're going to be, understanding why were the student lacking the motivation despite the use of such exciting tools. Why were the students missing the whole point of attending the class despite the fact that the teacher had worked so hard to get all those tools in place, and still the kids, were not there in the class? What was the problem? So let's unpack some of these issues. First one being the online multitasking behavior. We expect our students to concentrate. We expect our students to have a great attention span, because that's something that's being taught to them right from their 1 2 years. But is it so? Uh, when you're not looking over the shoulders of the child who's sitting in the class, How do you assess whether he's concentrating or not, or what is his attention span? So basically, concentration and attention span are not principles anymore, but skills that have to be taught before we start our lessons. There are a lot of resources, like for instance, Edutopia, where you can go and check out how to get the attention span and concentration, to name a few. I would say you can have some virtual reality trips in between, let's say 10, 15 minutes down the lesson, relate a topic and have a VR trip. Then you could have, you can allocate duties, you can have time managers, class conduct managers, collaboration managers, attendance managers, keep on rotating these duties. So that keeps those children alert for that much time. I have a certain duty in the class. I need to be on my feet. So this is about online multitasking behavior and how it can be addressed. And then we talk about effective lesson planning, which is applicable, a kind of a lesson plan which is more dynamic and not static. It's something that should be applicable for both synchronous and asynchronous modes. So that even if the school stops in between, we can continue with our same lesson plan. How do we go about doing that? The first thing we need to do for implementing such a lesson plan is to ensure that our learning management portal is active throughout the year. Even if we are going offline totally, we shouldn't stop using our learning management portals like Google Classroom, or some schools have their own. And then using these learning management portals, we should share a copy of our lesson plan, which is a more developed one. I'll just take you through one. And let the students use the same lesson plan to organize their study module. Let's take one example. I picked up this from the Hyperdoc Academy. The Hyperdoc Academy, it's an academy that creates lesson plans, and it's teaching for the teachers, by the teachers, teachers giving back to teachers. So you can actually design a lesson plan over these 5 aspects: engage, explore, explain, apply, share, and reflect. So if you design a lesson plan around these 5 aspects, including all the links and all the pictures and worksheets and quizzes and multimedia within this plan itself, and in itself, it is a tracker both for synchronous learners who are there online and for asynchronous learners who are unable to access the lesson because they couldn't attend the class, or probably there's a lot of cacophony going on in the class. I know it's looking a little bit confusing how to go about this, how to engage. I mean, we already do that in the class by code calling and stuff. Let me explain it to you in a little detail. I prepared a Hyperdoc plan for my own first chapter, and this was my Hyperdoc. Let me just take you through this. This was teaching operating system and graphic user interface. So the first thing you need to do is, in the first session that you have with the class, you introduce what exactly is a Hyperdoc and how are they going to use it. And you introduce the engage section. The engage section is a section where the student can share, they just see the question which is there in the section. For instance, my hookup activity question was, what software or apps do you have on your computer or phone? So I just simply shared an AirPod with them in the synchronous mode, and asynchronously they could have just explored the internet and given the answers. So I just shared my AirPod collab board with them, and they all gave their responses. Not going to be sharing it here because it's going to consume a lot of time. But then Nearpod is a very, very important application in terms of, enhancing collaborative learning in students. So they see each other's answers and they give their own. And once they have given the answer here, then they move to the explore section. In the explore section, you give them another 2 questions, like you give them 2 pictures, ask them, okay, what is the difference between the 2 apps that you're seeing here? Is there anything different, anything unusual you find? Say, okay, fine, this is an operating system. These are the apps. Then you show them a video that,
Shamimam, sorry
yes,
to interrupt, but some of us are having issues with seeing the content on when you switch to the Google Doc screen, like you have done just now. So can I request you to
mhm.
hide the taskbar and also, move the share bar a bit so that we can see as much as content as possible on the screen?
Okay, all right. See how I can do that. Maybe I could just zoom in a little bit. Probably that would help. Is it now
Sure.
visible?
Yeah, it's better, much better. Yeah,
Yeah, I expand it even more for the
yeah,
comfort of our audience.
sure.
I think now we're fine.
Yes,
Right.
it's
So
more
we were
visible.
on the explore section, and in the explore section, now we show them a video. A video, which is not just a lesson explanation video. It's a kind of intriguing video. The video that generates curiosity in the child to know more about operating systems. Don't give them the full information here. Give them some bit of information. Hold back some information. You need to have a knack of surfing over here to be able to get that video. And then the explain section. In the explain section, you again show them a video, but this time it would be more of an explanatory video. Where in this case, I'll just share that a video which takes them through kind of the chapter in a kind of reading mode, where they understand the different concepts in the chapter, right? And then they're asked to make notes on what they have understood from this particular video. You may ask them 2, 3 questions. What did you understand from this video? You could share doubts that you have on the Wakelet or the Padlet you have. For instance, I just made a Wakelet here where I shared the textbook. Okay, this is the other one. Let's come back to this. Yeah, so this Wakelet that was created to share the textbook with the students. So the students could read the PDF in the textbook, whatever content was there, and they could post their questions right here. And I could simply visit the Hyperdoc and see what child has which question on which section, asynchronously, of course. And then, after this explanation part, then we come to the elaboration and the collaboration part. Elaborate is where I actually go ahead and screencastify if required. The student has not understood the concept. He still wishes to have a live class experience with me. Then probably I would record my lessons and put it right here for him. This is my lesson which I have audio recorded. I'm not going to play it because you all know how audio recordings are. So it's I just went through the PDF and prepared this audio recording video and a certain excerpt of the lesson and shared it with them. Once they have completed all these things, we basically ask them to pick up any topic from the chapter and prepare a screencastify video on their own. Which topic interests them the most, and how would they like to build upon it. And then after that, of course, the last step would be evaluate, which is reflect on the learning using some kind of a diagnostic tool like a formative assessment, using a quiz, asynchronous quiz. Again, the link of the quiz is right here. The whole idea of making this hyperdoc is that the child doesn't have to go back to WhatsApp and search for the quiz or the links or ask his friends. It's all right there for him in the hyperdoc. So you just play that quiz with him synchronously in the class, and asynchronously he can do it later on. And then, of course, in the end, you ask the child to fill up an exit ticket. Now, the exit ticket form basically just gives you an idea after the hyperdoc is complete. You could have 3 or 4 hyperdocs depending on the length of the session, chapter. And then you could ask the child to fill up the small feedback form, explaining the varying level of understanding for the module, whether he's understood, less understood, need to study more again, or absent for the class, and any specific topic he has problem in, and how was his learning experience for that module. That gives you an understanding of how much work you still need to do on your hypertalk. So once the exit ticket is filled, your evaluation is complete, your hyperdoc is done. And how do you share this hyperdoc? You just simply create share a view only link of this hyperdoc on the Google Classroom, and the child copies that view only link, opens it, and obviously creates make a copy, uses make a copy to make a copy of that hyperdoc for himself, a personal copy. And then he starts working on it. So even if he's not there in the class or he's missed the class, he can always go back to the hyperdoc and study the chapter right from the beginning. So that was one thing which I felt that, it's the next level that we should be looking at, where we can bring all the tools at one place and, save the time and focus more on generating curiosity and learning. So that was about it. Now, Keys to successful blended learning. Um, Again, before I go to this slide, I'd just like to come back to the live chat, and I just wanted to know, since all of you have been doing using all the blended learning practices in your classroom, what do you think? You just saw collaboration. Do you think apart from collaboration, there's something else that we need to have, to make our blended learning classroom exciting? So can I have some answers on the live chat, please? What are the things that you think can make a blended learning classroom come alive? Yes, understanding clearly. That Netik, that's my student. Yes, yes, I'm waiting for your answers. Okay, thank you, Mamta ma'am. Thank you. You like the Hyperdoc. I'm sure you can use it the way you want. Games. Gurpreet ma'am says it's games. Okay, good. Very nice. The fun part. It's a very important part of the social economic development of the child. Interactive, of course. Sajjan sir says it's interactive. Experiential learning. Shakir says it's experiential learning. Wonderful, interactive, hands-on learning, quizzes. Okay, we are all coming alive. Something more. Two-way communication. It should be more interactive. Yes, yes, a connect. So we are all getting close to what we are intending at. How to make that connect. Activities. Yes, definitely. Or what else? Mm-hmm. I think, Mr. Anil, you want to say participation of all the students, engaging and communicative. Ma'am Namita says that. Okay, great. Wonderful. All right. Experimental learning. Awesome. All right. So let's get back to the presentation. As a primary teacher, Anuradha ma'am says she does a lot of activities. Okay, fine. So let's see how we can put them all under one canopy and make some sense out of it. Collaboration is the most important key to successful blended learning. And when I say collaboration, it's not just collaboration among students, it is the collaboration amongst the teaching communities. So, whether you are in a large school, I've been blessed to have such a large fraternity of beautiful, lovely teachers, a CMS. But even if you're not working with a conglomerate like this one, you can always look out for teaching communities like CENTA. They are doing wonderful work. I make it a habit to get up every morning and check out my CENTA question and what's the next webinar coming up, because it keeps me, I feel it keeps me ahead of my students in the classroom. It keeps me abreast of the new pedagogical technologies, the techniques that are coming up. And when I talk about professional learning communities, this is a very, very fine way, of making sure that teachers become lifelong learners. Because only when the teachers become lifelong learners will the students become lifelong learners. So it's a common practice at City Montessori School. Across the strata, we have subject teachers for specific subjects who get together, who have an agenda, probably on weekends or month ends, as per the calendar, and they pick up the problem areas, the key problem areas of what they're teaching, or the challenges that they're facing, or the new practices, the best practices that they're using, and they share it among their colleagues. And once they come upon and decide upon a certain practice which is turning out to be effective, then they just goes back and implements that practice in their classroom and comes back with a regular follow-up routine, with proper evidence showing that yes, this has worked. So it actually works to have collaboration, and not just in your school center. You can explore the internet these days. You have so many organizations that are coming up who are ready to offer help to teachers who feel that they are struggling and alone, kind of struggling with the technology, how to get their game up, how to be at par with other teachers. So do make sure that you're a part of at least one such community. Then collaboration among students, of course, and like all of you gave your beautiful answers. We had experiential learning, learning by doing. We have research or project-based learning, learning by exploring and augmenting the resources. We have interdisciplinary subject learning, where we integrate multiple subjects into one topic, not consuming much of your time. I'll just quickly take you to one example. For instance, you have to study pollution in metros. So why study pollution as a separate topic at different point of time in the year, where the student is studying pollution separately at separate times of year, in different times of year, in different subjects? Why not have it all at the same time? Excuse me. So supposing if you're picking up pollution as a topic, so one can have an experiential learning project as a 20 marks assessment study, because that's what motivates the student to do. Make groups of students, give them the project. Okay, this is a project based on pollution. You have to have subgroup members who are going to be working on the mathematics, the statistics, you know, like what is the air quality index of all the cities, major cities across the country or world, and what is the average air quality index. Then if you talk about English related to pollution, how would you write a letter to the municipal commissioner asking for, doing something about the increasing pollution in the community, and, stop those factories or plants, or give some kind of warning letter to them? How would you go about doing that? Then if you talk about chemistry, studying about the chemical composition of poisonous gases or toxic wastes and the products that they form when they get into the air, water, or land. Then integrating computers into it, create an app to find out the air quality index of a metro, or a short video or a documentary to generate the environmental conscience among our students. you know then if I have to involve civics, then what is the responsibility of the citizen, of as a citizen of the society? Who are the key people in the administration domain who are responsible to address these issues? And when we talk about biology, of course, what effect does pollution have on various human organs? So why not have an integrated blended studies of some sort, spread over a month, which involves all the students to make the best use of technology, and put these things together. So that's what builds the learning community, and that's what we are looking at in a successful blended learning model. Collaboration with parents, parents are the most important stakeholders. You all know that. So involving them in all the community drives, the environmental programs that you have, apart from the teaching learning timeline of sharing the marks and the progress of the child, there is a lot that we can involve our parents into. Not only this, if for things like when you're training your students for using a certain learning management portal, why don't you invite the parents as well? Parents are would be more than happy. The ones who are who are tech savvy, would actually be more than willing to give a stand in help in absentia of a teacher for some kind of a problem or something. Only we need to make sure that we are guiding our parents to the same process of acquiring the skills to navigate through the learning management process, the same skills that we are giving to the children, so that those two the parents can stand in times that we need them. Then effective follow-up strategies. When I say follow-up strategies, exit ticket, the one that I just showed you in my Hyperdoc template, I'll just take you through one more exit ticket form, which had similar kind of questions. And this time I'm not going to show you the form. I'll be showing you the result, the responses. The reason I'm showing you the responses is because this is something that makes me introspect once I have completed a chapter or a unit with them, that which student is at, how many students have completely understood the topic, how many students have moderately understood, how many students have like less understood or would like to study again. So these are my remedial students. So it's important to have an exit ticket at the end of every module, or learning term, or learning months, to make sure that you can go back and revisit those topics, because computer as a subject offers magnanimous time as compared to other subjects. So we can always do that and make way for others. And of course, a lot of asynchronous pre-work and less homework for creating time and space for self-learning and being prepared to show the evidence of learning in the next class. The whole idea of sharing the hyperdoc was, if you give a hyperdoc to a child, he'll always come back to you with 1,000 questions in his mind. And curiosity is the heart of learning. We've had a lot of students looking out for activities. When I go to the class, you all must be sharing the same experience with me. That, ma'am, I want to play a quiz. Ma'am, we want to play a quiz. Ma'am, some of these are so smart, they've already went on internet and browsed and found that quiz. So we need to kind of implant that seed of curiosity by giving them lot of asynchronous pre-work, so that we can streamline the 40 minutes that we have in the class with them with a lot of engagement rather than just playing a simple quiz. Okay, so this is one of my favorite. I generally ask the students to share their work with me on Padlets, and we all know that we can only have at the most 3 Padlets at the time. So what I did was I asked the students to kind of, share the Padlets with the complete terms work with me. So Netik shared his computer Padlet, and so did many other students. I'm sure all of you are able to see my screen. Is my screen visible?
It is, ma'am. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So we can create a kind of timeline Padlet. So this was a timeline Padlet where the child uploaded his classwork. He uploaded his programs, their outputs, and everything. At the end of the term, he said, "Ma'am, I just have one Padlet. What do I do with it now? For the next time, I'll have to delete this Padlet. All my work will go away." I said, "Don't worry. You just create a PDF of this, and let me show you what happened. You just click on the share button, go to save as PDF, in a landscape form, and publish PDF. And the whole fair copy comes alive. All you need to do is just download this fair copy, probably take a print of it, use it for your study for your exams, and you can reuse the same Padlet again. And Padlet being an extremely versatile instructional tool can also allow us to have the feedback. So if you look at the last page here, all the reviews, the feedback, or the peer reviews are all here. It encourages the students to do better every time. All right. So that was one way of making sure that follow-ups are being done. You can always ask the students to share the Padlets and their, PDFs of their Padlets with you. Then we must make sure that we are, like I told earlier also, to the parents and the students also, before we start the lessons, we take them through a guided tour of understanding how to look for material, assignments, and assessments, and how to communicate with the instructor. So instead of showing them 10 different videos on a WhatsApp or sending them 10 different videos on WhatsApp, which they might lose eventually, just one, probably a Wakelet link or a Padlet link where we just simply, gather all the YouTube links that we want are right here for the Google Classroom. How to submit the assignment, the parental guide, how to turn in the work, how to check the work, all the videos at one place. And you share the link of this Wakelet with them. Every time they need to go back, okay, how I had to share my work, or to people who are new to the system, new admissions, you just need to share this Wakelet link as an announcement on your Google Classroom, and they'll be able to pull it off from there. Okay, so this was one technique. And then we go to this next one. This one is again a very interesting asynchronous peer evaluation mode. Now, when we ask students to evaluate students, that is what is peer evaluation. And EduFlow is one very helpful website, I would say, to do so. You need not do the whole work that you did on the Hyperdoc here again, not required. You just use this for peer evaluation. So how you need to do this is probably just create an assignment, upload some kind of a homework, and create a course using that assignment. And in the next step, there are just two things that you can add to your course. One is the activity, and one is the flow. So when you add activity, it is in terms of questionnaires and videos, and when you add flows, these are in terms of the peer review flow, the self review flow, the instructor review flow. So on the left side here, you'll be able to see the reviews done by all the students for a particular child. And in the process of review, they again collaborate, and they come out with the suggestions that are useful, beneficial, and then by the time the document comes to you, it is already like more than half checked. Especially this, something like this would be very helpful for a a program code, or something in maths or numerical. And then the step four is you invite the participants by adding the link to the EduFlow course in your LMS or Google Classroom, and give them a due date to complete a minimum of, generally it's 3 reviews before submitting the assignment on the Google Classroom. So that way, we ensure that a lot of collaboration is happening. And uh, the flipped classroom. When I say flipped classroom, is another very effective integration of a tool for integrating technology into blended learning. Uh, this methodology, which you all must be seeing on the screen, SAMR, stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. We could search a little more about this on internet. I don't want to consume much time here, but this is a methodology which basically talks about how we progress from substituting our work to our presentations to a point where we make a student conscious of his own learning, and he can himself create a learning resource for others to follow and learn from. A good number of teachers, hats off to so many of my CMS colleagues. I keep on seeing on the various social media handles the kind of resources these they make their students learn, and the students can come back, and you can actually feel that, oh god, this child has learned so much. Let us take you through one example of flipped classroom where the child is explaining the instruction, where I taught HTML to her.
Good afternoon and Jai. My name is Ashna Katiyar and I am from class 7th B, and today I will show my web page and the code that I have used to create it. So, synchronous and same with the red. Ma'am, so there are many images that I have linked here, as these are the different types with underlining, bold, and this one. So this is the main time we're heading. And then I hyperlinked my images with the text of the corresponding images. For example, I had linked I had used the first unordered list tag as I was saying that the different types of roses. So I made it as a list. And
So you all can see that the child has not only shown the web page that she has made, but she's also explaining the steps, the commands that she has used, the tags that she has used to create that web page. That shows a deeper understanding of the concept by that child. So whenever we ask the student to create a flip training video, we expect the child to have understood the concept and emulate the way it is taught in the class. I think that's an excellent way of achieving the redefinition level of the SAMR methodology. And of course, the effective engagement, one of the effective engagement techniques that I feel is revisiting the learning outcomes. It's very important that we keep on coming back to the learning objectives in the due course of our teaching. Like I'm having this webinar on blended learning. So I shouldn't be deviating from what blended learning is. You know, yeah, the whole idea of generating curiosity in the blended learning curriculum pedagogy, I shouldn't be deviating. So similarly, in the class also, when you are teaching a concept, you shouldn't be deviating. Whatever subject you are, you should keep revisiting your learning outcomes, with the proper use of instructional design and not wasting too much of times on tools that again would generate a lot of excitement but less of curiosity. One needs to definitely have a well organized learning material, not jumbled up learning material, especially in the learning management portals that you're using. Then this is again a very important thing, ideal breakup of the 40 minutes virtual classroom session that you're having to ensure maximum output in a blended learning environment. We need to have, because the attention span, as you can see in that figure over there, is a 2 into 5, 2 into 5 times the average is the you know concentration time. So if a child is of 4 years of age, then you multiply it by 2 into 4 into 2 into 5, it makes it 8 into 20. So his attention span would be 8 into 20. So keeping that in mind, one has to decide that, one cannot give too much of information more than one can chew. So after every 10 minutes of the actual teaching, hardcore teaching, one needs to have at least a 10-minute module of student engagement, whether you do that using the collaboration boards or Padlets, but a lot of engagement is required, followed by 5 minutes of formative assessment, that could be a quiz or something, followed by 5 minutes of self-reflection, as I discussed in the Hyperdoc. Judicious use of technology, creating resource pools for subject-wise edtech tools. And CENTA has been kind enough to give us 30 best tools for remote teaching and learning shared by CENTA. That's why I say we must keep visiting these, the links and the videos and the webinars that are being provided, because they give us so much, so much. So these 30 best tools are there, which you can see in the presentation later. I'm not going to be going into discussing these 30 tools, but I would, one suggestion that I personally feel, is that all the teachers teaching in a particular institution should have a kind of workshop where they sit down and pick up and decide those 4 or 5 edtech tools, only those 4 or 5 edtech tools, which integrate the assessment, the recap, the teaching activity, and the evaluation, everything on one platform. Only those 5 4 5 tools, so that the child is not distracted. He's not always, trying to explore and figure out ways of how to impress the teacher. Okay, I know this tool very well. So one should judiciously use the technology, like my senior colleague once said, one shouldn't bamboozle the students with use of technology, whether or not the child is comfortable using it or not. So if you really want to introduce a new concept, you must try to create a video tutorial or a handout for before introducing that technology in the class, so that again, that technology does not hinder with the learning. The technology should support learning, it shouldn't hinder with the learning, and the teacher should not struggle juggling on multiple tabs. Effective assessment techniques and strategies for blended learning. If you have not, you must go and check out Nearpod, because on Nearpod, on the same screen, while you are sharing the PDF on which you are teaching, probably it's the PDF of the textbook that you're teaching, on that very screen, you will be able to add each one of these activities. Open-ended questions, collaboration boards like Padlets or Wakelets, then memory tests, flip grids, quizzes, anything that you want to do, you'll be able to do, on the very same Nearpod board. So it doesn't, again, help you. You don't have to shunt between different softwares and links and things like that. There's one thing that I taught this morning. I was teaching them explain any components of the operating system, and you see the participation. Look at this, it's 87%, because all these children are giving answers. Generally what happens is a lot of cacophony in the class, a lot of noise. We just saw that word cloud, remember, noise in the back. So if you establish ground rules that if you have to respond, please go on the link, your name is going to come, your answer is going to come, and I will read out your answer. You can share the best answer. You can share the screen to show everybody's answers with their names. And you see the participation level where it goes. That's the whole point. We don't want only 20% children to be participating. We want more and more children to be actively involved in the teaching learning process. Remediation measures for slow learners in a blended learning environment. This also I picked up from a very senior lady. Turning digital divide to digital proximity, using different time for remedial teaching. in smaller groups, collaborative study groups, building the learning communities, giving them projects that makes them feel an onus, take up the onus of the learning, giving them duties that makes them take onus of the learning. And if they are not available for the class for a certain period of time, sharing that personalized Hyperdoc plan with them on WhatsApp. It won't take you much. You just need to make a copy, create a link, make some changes here and there, probably write that child's name somewhere, and share that personalized Hyperdoc for that child on his WhatsApp and see what wonders it does. Oh, ma'am has sent me a personal plan. Now I need to work. So I prepared this small bubble sort mechanism thing. I'm going to maximize this a little more again because it had, uh, I think, viewing issues. I think now will be visible. So this hyperdoc was a very simple hyperdoc, but it again had all those five elements: engage, explore, explain, collaborate, share, elaborate, and reflection. So when I have to engage, I ask them a question. When I have to explore, I give them a picture or show them a video. When I have to explain, I kind of, show them a video with some kind of little bit of explanation, not unfolding all, sharing them, sharing a little information with them. I'm again not going to open this video because it's going to consume a lot of time. And then finally sharing the code. Now you could share the code for the students who can understand the code. They'd be able to do it using watching this animation. For those of you who are for the students who are struggling, you can create your own screencastify or ask one of the students to cast the lesson while you're teaching the lesson in the class. Put that castify video here and then ask the child to create his own screencast video explaining that concept and share a link here. Then you can go back and see how the child is explaining and you'll understand what is it that the child hasn't understood. And of course, the evaluation part by, doing a short quiz and bubble sort with them, and then they are good to go for the class, for the next class. They are at par with the students of the other section. It's just one small personalized remedial plan on their personal WhatsApp. It's going to work magic for them. Okay, and moving ahead, I just hope I am just in the nick of time. We have 8 more minutes. I need to hurry up a little. This is a very, very important component, the emotional quotient versus the intelligence quotient. You know, we cannot just bombard the students with the information for the entire period of 2 hours, knowing that the screen time is already affecting their eyes. So the moment you enter the class, your idea should be to not to jump into the instruction, but to basically start mingling them with them a little. Ask them small questions like, what was the act of kindness that they did or received that day with these tough times going around? Did you help somebody or did someone help you? Or if there's an international day that your school has celebrated for that matter, talk about, for instance, recently we had the Earth Day. So what did they do for the Earth Day? And what do you think, how do you think it would be important? Right? A little bit of chit chat before you start instead of jumping to the instruction immediately. Won't take more than a minute. There's one very interesting practice called the permission slips, which gives you an idea to understand the state of mind. I mean, you are there in the class giving your best, you've prepared these tools, but you don't know that the child sitting over there might have had a terrible state of affairs at his home. He might not be mentally present in the class. So you can always give him the freedom. You can give him a list of things that he can type in the chat box. Okay, I give myself permission to listen without the feeling to need to fix it right away. Just give them a 1 minute's time to put it inside the chat box how they are feeling. Are they how would they like to go for the day? Like that. Give them a minute's time and see what wonders it works. Optimistic closure. Always close with the word of gratitude. Supposing they've done a lesson, they've gone through that lesson, in a whole sequence, and they had a lot of collaborative activities. They had to take help of some of their friends. Then at the end of that lesson, they should be having this gratitude practice. They can share these beautiful cards. I'm thankful for the things this person made brought joy today. How am I feeling? What was the best part of my day? So small things, but then they bring them back to they bring back the same fervor and energy that they were using in the class. have fun weekend activities like what's the good word, or try to enact an actor, a character from the Shakespeare's play, or use Flipgrid to do these activities. No need to ask them to send the video on WhatsApp. Just go on Flipgrid. I'll just share one with you because I recently joined the class as a teacher. I didn't know the children, so these were the children whom I asked, see, I don't know you, I haven't met you before. So could you share your introduction and let me know how you found your computer class? So they were all so cute. They sent their videos to me, and I could actually make a mixtape and share with all of them. I'll just share one with you.
Hello ma'am, good evening and Jai Jagat. I am Utkarsh Gupta of class 8A and I like your way of teaching very much. Your classes are very interactive and joyful. Thank you ma'am.
So this was like, you can do a lot of things on Flipgrid, not just sharing introduction. You can actually have activities, lots of activities. Just need to go over there and explore, essay writing activities, getting them involved. Give them a topic. What if dinosaurs were alive today? How would you go about them? A lot of imaginative essay content is there. So for English teachers, it's something really nice. You must go and check out how to use Flipgrid to become your class come alive. Unstable bandwidth and internet connectivity. I think I've spoken a lot about this. The whole purpose of using asynchronous strategies is to tackle with the unavailability of the teacher due to bad internet connection or classroom disturbance. Whether you do it using a screencastify capsule, which is I've already showed you one here. This one is where I had taught them how to create bookmarks, and in the due course they could understand the code and they could
Good morning.
get
Today
back
I'll
to
be
me.
explaining you how to.
Yeah, right, create a bookmark, and then find relatable videos on diksha.gov.in. Teachers, Diksha is obviously we all know it's a website where you get all the material, the textbooks of NCERT, designed by the central government, it's education ministry itself, and it has hundreds of thousands of videos on all the possible subjects that you can possibly imagine without any ad or any kind of content that you don't want the children to see or watch. So please, and it's made class wise. So please do go check out, have your login on diksha.gov, and they're all free of cost. You just need to share that link in your Hyperdoc plan. Then you have OLabs where you can have simulations on different, uh, experiments, right? Biology, chemistry, maths, all kind of experiments you have. If you want to share the simulation with the students, you can share the simulations on these experiments. Let the homework be in the form of asynchronous collaborative activities, and let the classroom be a contact session for discussing the student work, sharing the best work, aligning it with the learning outcomes. That's how your blended learning classroom, comes alive. You are actually able to generate curiosity. This is something, which I personally felt is very important for us as teachers, because if we are putting in so much of hard work, we really want to know how is it going? Are they understanding? Are they even, I mean, what do they think about all that hard work that you're doing for them? So let your peers evaluate your class once in a while and share honest feedback with you, with an open mind and an accepting attitude. Design a performance appraisal form for yourself and let your students feel it, fill it at the term end. Look out for keywords like curiosity, patience, understanding, learning by doing, motivation in their notes. These are the indicators that you're on the right track. One last question from all of you before I wind up is what, according to you, is the most important virtue required to have a successful blended learning environment conducive to learning? Based on what you heard just now, what do you feel out of these is the most important virtue required? I hope the link is being shared. Piyush? Okay, and we have the answers. We have 24 people saying patience. And we have 10 people saying compassion, and we have 5 people saying tolerance, and 3 people saying generosity. Hmm. Think again. Think on those lines. What do you think is the most important virtue that you must disseminate in your lessons to make blended learning environment amicable, friendly, and conducive to learning? It has to be friendly. Yes, I'm looking for more responses. So we are having a tough tie. Compassion is trying to get close to patience. Patience is not giving up. Patience is staying where it is. Compassion trying to get close to patience. Sort of. Okay. I feel both are correct, but the people for whom they matter are different. For teachers, it's definitely patience, but for students, it's compassion. Compassion is the single most important virtue that will get us through these tough times. Compassion is the single most important virtue that would want one child to work for the other selflessly in a collaborative environment to make blended learning successful. Thank you so much for participating in that poll. Let's get back to the presentation. Okay. And one very important thing before I sign off for the day. Uh, This quote is from the implementation plan of the National Education Policy 2020. It says that in order to implement, proper online and digital education, one has to make sure that technology is appropriately used at all levels of education. It's not me speaking, this is the policy NEP 2020 that speaks. So, to improve student learning outcomes, teaching, learning, and evaluation processes at scale, enhance educational access to disadvantaged groups, increase availability of data to enhance understanding of how children learn, streamline educational planning, administration, and management. And the whole purpose of showing this slide to you was to make you understand that blended learning is here to stay. Even if the schools reopen, we have to be prepared with all the technology that we can to be able to handle a situation like this and to make sure that our virtual class environment is as effective as the real time class environment, and we are able to induce the 6 C's of 21st century learning in our blended learning classroom as well. Way forward, one cannot reinvent a century of instructional insight, recreate a semester's worth of lesson plans, and completely digitize the classroom in the course of weekend in the midst of circumstances that only compound the anxiety affecting everyone involved without a fair amount of turbulence, which means that out of the comfort zone is where the magic lies. Before I go on to my final slide, I'd like to take questions if anyone has any.
Thank you so much, Shamim. Lovely session and very, very insightful. And thank you so much for doing this. There was a very specific question, and it was from Miss Aisha, and this was when you were showing the Nearpod. We were on Nearpod, and her question was: is it possible, or how should I go about assessments on Nearpod, and is it possible for me to like create a quiz on Nearpod and also assign marks to it so that when students attempt it, they get like a score at the end of it. So that was her question. It was a very specific question, but she was very keen to know, so she asked it a couple of times. So that's why I picked it up specifically. Yeah,
May I know who spoke that question?
Aisha. Her name is Miss Aisha Gaba. Yeah.
Thank you, Aisha, for that beautiful question. Actually, Nearpod is more of a collaborative, synchronous learning tool. I feel for asynchronous activities, it's better to have shared quiz links from other apps, because even if you want to have a formative assessment, a kind of assessment, ongoing assessment inside the classroom while you're teaching, then you go in for Nearpod, because I feel the moment you leave that application, you won't be able to access those scores or permanently store them anywhere, unlike the other quiz apps that you use. So I feel that if you're looking at asking questions while teaching in the class to increase their engagement, then you go in for a Nearpod. For others, I think Socrative and Quizlet, they do a good job. Thank you, Aisha.
Uh, Lots of thank you messages for you, ma'am. And uh, I'm just seeing if we have any more questions. Farida Khan Paul is asking, what are the six C's?
What are the six C's?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Farida, for that question. Six C's are the 21st century learning skills which are very much required to be disseminated in every single lesson that we are teaching to our children, whether it is online or offline. And to give you an abbreviation, it's communication, critical thinking, collaboration, citizenship, character, and I think I lost one. What was that? Collaboration, creativity. Yeah, creativity. So if the lesson that you are giving to the student has a fair proportion of all these six skills, then you are doing complete justice to your job as a teacher. Thank you, Farida.
Miss Lakshmi has a question and she's asking, can you suggest any app for art teachers?
Art teachers. Okay. I'm still to figure out one on that, because I myself not being from an arts background. But yes, I think I'll be very soon writing a blog on CENTA. So do check out for my blog. Probably I'll give you your answer there itself. May I know the name once again?
Lakshmi Buji is
All right, Lakshmi. So watch out for my blog on CENTA, Lakshmi.
Miss Chaganti Shailaja has a question and she's asking, how can we use Nearpod for kindergarten students? And if we can use it.
Oh, kindergarten students, you can actually have lots of activities for kindergarten students. You have matching pairs, because for kindergarten students, I think they do a lot of matching pair activities. And there are a lot of inbuilt lessons in Nearpod. Please go and explore it. It's a whole new world of opportunities there. So just go and explore. You will find so many lessons on numbers, alphabets, you know and inbuilt activities are there where the students, they cross one, just like gaming. They do an assignment, cross one level, then there will be another assignment, go to the other level, and you have matching pairs and mixing pairs. Lots and lots of theirs. Kindergarten will have a roll of a die.
And there's a question from Mr. Sarjan Somashekaran, and he's asking, how can we decide the time allocated to offline and online mode of teaching? And there was a very similar question from Ms. Meenakshi earlier, and she was saying, what should be the ideal percentage split between the two? Of course, everything's online now, but in a blended learning setup, what should be the ideal split between
Um,
online and
I
offline?
think there's a network lag. Could you please repeat the question again?
Sure. There's a question from Mr. Sargent, and he's asking, uh, what should be the like his question is, what should be the split between online and offline learning in a blended learning setup?
In an online and offline. Do you really think that's there in your hands, Sajid? You really think that's there in your hands these days anymore? You're just being pushed into uncertain circumstances, totally off guard. So you can't decide that. If you are having offline classes, like the school opens, and still, I feel that, if you're having 4 sessions for teaching a particular subject, you should dedicate at least one session to online learning. You see the magic that happens after that. But again, then, offline has its own way of teaching. But I feel one has to be equipped with both. The whole idea of sharing the Hyperdoc with you was that even if you're teaching offline and you share the Hyperdoc on the learning management portal, the child is going to go online at his own time and space, right? So let the child decide instead of who are we to decide?
Sure. There's a question from Mr. Nathik Singhal, and he's asking, I am afraid of flip teaching. Like he has some hesitation for in flip teaching. So how should I remove that hesitation and how should I go about it?
Netik is my student, Karthik, and the Padlet that you saw on the screen was Netik's only, if you remember.
Okay, okay, okay.
These are our students. We're super excited. We want to attend the webinar also. No,
Great.
you just need to get over your fright, Netik, and there's nothing called as stage fright. It doesn't exist. You just need to go there and do it.
Great. I think we've answered most of the questions. And Aisha ma'am, I think you can use Google Forms. I think you can play around with Google Forms, and that will help you to create some quizzes. And also Zoho is a tool that I've used personally, and it works well. So you can definitely use that. Iram Usharani ma'am, would you mind dropping me an email so that I don't forget? I'll do the needful. I'll do that. Thank you so much, ma'am. I think we're 10 minutes past five, but thank you so much for a lovely session, and we had like I think close to 600 people joining us live this evening. Thank you so much to all of you for taking out time from your busy schedules and joining us, and also to you, Shamim, ma'am. I'm really hoping that we are able to get bring you back for another session, and because this was like so very well received. Thank you so much, and. And yeah,
I would like to also thank a couple of people, if you permit me to, Karthik.
sure, sure.
Yeah, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Team CENTA, you, Karthik, Priyanka ma'am, for pushing me, believing in me that I could pull this off, Piyush for bearing with me, and I would be failing in my duty if I don't thank the entire management and staff of CMS for being so kind and supportive during these tough times. And to you all, my dear fellow colleagues, brothers, and sisters, whether we met or not, but we all share the same vision that learning must never stop. Special thanks to the CEO of City Montessori School, Mr. Roshan Gandhi, who took time to go through my presentation and make sure that it's following the proper order. Respected Nisha ma'am, Principal Rajipuram campus, all the respected principals, my friends, Deepa, Neha, Sonal, Gagan, who gave patient hearing to me for pairing this whole thing. And like, since I'm from Lucknow, so we don't end without saying lines of you. So, एक शेर इरशाद है, मुलायजा फरमाइए. लाख दलदल में हो आप, लाख दलदल में हो आप, पांव जमाए रखिएगा, अपने दोनों हाथ हमेशा दुआ में उठाए रखिएगा. कौन कहता है कि चलनी में पानी रुक नहीं सकता? अरे जनाब, बर्फ जमने तक हौसला बनाए रखिएगा. So together we have, and together we will defeat the darkness and guide our little angels into the bright new future, free from pain and misery, full of joy and learning driven by curiosity. Thank you, and Jai Jagat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shamim, ma'am. And yeah, a couple of questions on the feedback form. Yes, you do have to fill in the feedback form to get the participation record. So please fill that in, and we've shared the link multiple times. So please, check that out. And yeah, please do fill it in by 9 p.m. today. And I'll see all of you on. We have a special session on Monday, and that session is for school leaders, but all of you are absolutely most welcome to join us, and it's going to be on the topic of attracting, motivating and retaining great teaching talent. So please share the link with your school leaders in case and I'm sure that they'll find a lot of merit in joining that session. But the next session in our regular webinar series is scheduled for the 6th of May, which is next Thursday, and it's going to be on a super important topic. It's about preventing child abuse, and we've done a session on that in the past, and there's a organization called Arpan which is doing wonderful work in this field. They had done the session some late last year, and it was very well received, so we've brought them back, and we will be doing another session next week. So registrations as always are open on my center, m.center.org, and I'm hoping that like Shamim, all of you also make it a habit to go to the My Center platform every single morning and checking out the question of the day or the resource of the day. We're also revamping the platform, so you'll see lots and lots of changes coming, happening in the platform over the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks. So please do visit my center. Also, as always, share the video with your friends, colleagues, everyone in your networks, and and spread the message and spread the love. Thank you so much. Thank you once again, and I will see all of you on Monday at 5 p.m. Until then, I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend and a great evening ahead. Thank you so much.